We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that's clear. Make sure that's clear. Be good. Welcome to my channel, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lou Valentino, and this video right here it's been hard to make. I try to do a couple takes because I don't know what to say. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe if you new to the channel. But Candace Owens is somebody I've never liked. From all the clips and all the things that I've seen and all the things I've been led to believe, I can't tell you that I like her anymore now. But throughout the greatest, and I want to definitely be as honest as I could possibly be by making this video. I'm not gonna tell I love Candace Owens, I love what she stands for, because I'm also very ignorant to a lot of her stuff. So I can't sit here and tell you I know her or I watch her. I don't. But from the things that I've seen, I was like, okay, thrown off. But this one right here in particular, I decided to watch The Greatest Lie Ever Sold. And to be honest with y'all, man, I think I should watch it. I think I should tune in. I think I should give it a chance. I am a Black Lives Matter supporter. It's been exploited. Where has the money gone? The family, I mean, all the things that you learn in this. But this one particular part, I want to definitely talk about because, and I want to do a reaction to it because I have to go back and really rewatch it with you guys. Because at the end of the day, man, where the fuck has the money that everybody has donated? We talk about millions of dollars. Where has it gone? What's the end goal with this whole thing? I feel like it's being exposed that, you know, let's get into it, bro. I am Latino from the Bronx, New York, if you're wondering. I did grow up around black people my whole life, around Hispanics, of course. I am Dominican and Puerto Rican. So my sentiments and my feelings for this, they stem from just how I grew up. You know what I'm saying? Like family members being incarcerated, people being locked up for all types of dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? All the rules, all the laws, everything. So that's where my emotion over the death came from. So I want to put that in there. That let's just go. It's a lot of emotions.
My name is Charles and I grew up in Kenya.
How long have you lived in Minneapolis?
I came to Minneapolis in May of 1997. So
President of the Unity Movement Institute.
27 years.
Yes.
What was this city before the George Floyd riots?
Well, it was just a typical Midwestern city with low crime and hardworking people, and we just lived here and enjoyed life together.
Yeah. And then things took a bit of a turn, and this is something different, would you say?
Well, what we saw was like a venting of anger. It was complete opposite of Minnesota nice. And we saw anger, mayhem, looting, destruction of property, burning of police precincts, and it was completely foreign to me. I'm used to something like this in third world countries, but not in America, and quite honestly, not in Minnesota.
Not in Minnesota. This is something that I think I've never seen before in any city that I've lived in, at least. It says, you are now entering the free state of George Floyd. What does that mean?
It means this is an autonomous zone, and it operates outside the laws of United States. And anything that happens here is run by a community, and they do whatever they want.
They do whatever they want. How is that allowed in the United States?
The city of Minneapolis has been negotiating.
Negotiating with whom?
With the community.
Wow. So the city is being held hostage by the community that is running the autonomous zone. Do I have that understood?
That's correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we are now entering a state where really anything goes, right?
Abolish the police. Black Lives Matter.
Anything goes, right?
Well, I think anything goes here. We've seen death. We've seen a man shot right in front of us. We've seen a woman who was pregnant shot right in front of us. And right here, we had a huge bus, like a school bus, and it was a clinic. It was a medical clinic. And the number one thing they were treating during the time of the riots was gunshot wounds right here.
as I'm looking around, there's so many empty shops on the block, things that are boarded up. How does that make you feel to see that? Is there ever going to be life again on this street?
Well, I feel like there has been a tremendous loss of the way of life here has changed. The economy, the destruction of big businesses. Most of the businesses here that were destroyed, the insurance would not be able to cover that.
Right.
And so it's a hard thing for people to rebuild themselves, especially after what they went through.
It almost seems like a vigil is being kept here.
Well, this is pretty much the body of George Floyd. This is where he lay dead. Breathed his last right here.
Right. And so the idea is that no one should enter. This is sort of a sacred place. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can see this. It's pretty much a holy ground.
Now, you're a pastor, so I just wanted to ask you, how does it make you feel, right, knowing obviously who George Floyd was and how he lived his life, to see that this has been transformed into a holy ground, you know, as if this is where Jesus Christ took his last breath?
Well, we have better people to follow. Of course, Jesus Christ, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who have lived their lives and epitomized what we would like to emulate.
Right, right. And how does it make you feel when you hear leaders, you know, saying that the death of George Floyd is more significant than Martin Luther King?
It's outrageous.
I guess I would have assumed when Black Lives Matter announced that they raised $90 million. How much over?
Holy fuck.
On the back of the George Floyd riots and the sprees. Where is that money?
I don't know.
How? Bro, where is that money? And why isn't it rebuilding this community? This is what I don't understand. Like, a lot of people were just... George Floyd's death to me was... It was significant because it was, to me, a crime. In my opinion, even after watching this, they say that it wasn't, and all these things. I don't want to get into all that. What I want to get into is the cause. So instead of it, instead of it being genuine and being actually for a cause and rebuilding communities and actually doing stuff that people were supposed to do, at the end of the day, it feels like there's nothing to show for this.
It's all here. Everything looks worse than it was.
Is it possible that Black America was sort of used as a front, and the emotions that Black America was feeling was used as a front, and
it's crazy.
This money went probably maybe not to Black people at all, anywhere in the world?
So many elements of people who took advantage of the death of George Floyd to stir up the emotions for political gain, for financial gain, and to propagate division, because some of these organizations that raise money, they can only get money if they propagate hatred and division. They are not helping the community. They are helping themselves.
Bro, that's insane to me, bro. That shit is crazy. The organization founded in 2013 by 3 female activists during the Trayvon Martin incident in 2012. I remember that. So for me, it's not, I'm not against George Floyd. I'm not violating George Floyd. I feel like people don't even take time to understand his addiction, understand his pain, understand who he was. It was more like, yo, another black man dead. We gonna make this money. We gonna, yo, I can't wait for another tragedy to happen. Like, that's what it felt like. It felt like they couldn't wait for another tragedy to happen to then go and act like they doing stuff for the community. Like $80 million, bro. I ain't see nobody in the Bronx. I ain't see nobody in the hoods. Yo, we gonna build this. Yo, we gonna build that. I ain't see none of that, bro. I ain't see none of that. You feel me? Like, let's keep going.
Where have you seen that money impacted throughout the city?
Democratic politics. I mean, that's...
We shared this place, right? And we went half on everything, you know, right?
These right here are his roommates, who a lot of people, because of this documentary, are just now finding out that those were his roommates. These two people right here. And nobody paid attention to them. Nobody came and said, yo, sorry for your loss.
Right?
Shit's crazy.
So when it happened to Floyd, everything fell back on me and out. So
we got a car out there, it's just sitting there. We couldn't do nothing with it because he didn't the title. They won't take it or move it.
It is just shocking to me because of how much money was raised to think that where he lived, the bills weren't being covered. So Black Lives Matter released their 990 IRS filings, and of course, I wanted to jump right into it and find out exactly what happened to the approximate $80 million that was raised by them between July 1st of 2020 and June 30th, 2021. Okay, Vivek, so during the George Floyd death and the aftermath, you were in Silicon Valley, is that correct?
Yeah, I was running a biotech company, actually, and I was CEO at the time, that's right.
What was the corporate reaction in Silicon Valley?
It was a pledge of allegiance to one cause, to turn this man, who had died in a tragic death, no doubt, into some type of new modern messiah figure. And I thought that the religious quality of every company bending the knee was a bit odd, and I was actually pretty keen on making sure that I didn't lie to my employees, that I didn't tell them something that I didn't believe about this. I sent an employee all email, and I said, look, I understand there's racial riots across the country, or there's unrest across the country. I hope everybody's safe. Let us know if you need us to support you. That was about it. And I remember the reaction that I got, that somehow that failed to meet the moment because I didn't recite the same ritual incantation that every other CEO was pledging allegiance to across the country, a corporate statement made by the same PR firm that effectively ended in Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been sort of investigating throughout this documentary, where did the money go that was given to Black Lives Matter? We never even really got a full answer of how much money was given.
I often say that BLM now stands for Buy Lavish Mansions, because that's what the BLM movement does. You actually saw in recent weeks there was a person who was effectively working for BLM.
Yo, bro,
that
what?
Personally purchased a mansion, and she pays $3 million for it within days.
Shorty was eating off of death, dog.
To the BLM organization, who pays nearly $6 million for that same house, booking a personal profit to the person who actually bought it. So that's a self-dealing transaction that enriches personally somebody who's working for Black Lives Matter. Why is BLM buying big lavish mansions in the first place?
When their donors were understandably outraged by the luxurious purchase, Patrisse Cullors came forth and also admitted that she hired both her mother and her brother to work at the property. What sort of work, you ask? Well, Patrisse Cullors' brother, Paul Cullors, is a graffiti artist by trade. That's what he's done his entire life. He's done graffiti. Patrisse instead hired her brother to do security for her. She paid Paul $840,000. That's almost $1 million in just 1 year to her graffiti artist brother, his newly established security firm. Now, that makes her a great sister, but perhaps she's an even better baby mama because Patrisse also gave funding from Black Lives Matter to take care of the man who fathered her son. His name is Damon Turner, and he received $970,000 from BLM to his company, Trap Seals LLC, which purportedly provided live production.
I'm embarrassed
so
right
that
now.
makes Patrisse a great sister, a wonderful baby mama, and also, by the way, she's a fun mom. Because one of the events that Patrisse organized at her BLM mansion was for her young son's birthday party. Nothing says taking on police brutality quite like hosting a birthday party for your young son in a Los Angeles mansion paid for by donors to the cause.
Yo, this is
Patrisse likes
bugged
parties,
out.
by the way, because she also threw a party there to celebrate the inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And yeah, that's somewhat suspicious because what do Democrats have to do with Black Lives Matter? I think I'll just leave that question open-ended. Also suspicious is the fact that Black Lives Matter designated a whopping $8 million to an out-of-country grant. What? I thought this charity was about addressing police brutality in the United States. Apparently, to do that, you need to send $8 million to Toronto, Canada, to an organization named M4BJ. they purchased a $6.3 million, 10,000 square foot downtown property in Toronto. And I should also mention that M4BJ is run by Patrice's wife, Janaya Khan. Because
She got a whole wife?
is the co-founder.
I'm out.
Believe it or not. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Yo,
Khan
what the
is gender non-conforming. These terms can be quite sensitive, so let me just use photos to illustrate my point. Janaya used to look like this, and now she looks like this. Now that information would be entirely irrelevant if it wasn't for the way that Patrice Cullors saw it fit to spend the rest of Black Lives Matter's money. Ready for some BLM pride? Well, according to their IRS form, $200,000 went to the Transgender Justice Funding Project. Another $200,000.
What the fuck this? Okay, no offense to the trans community, right? What the fuck does that have to do with George Floyd, bro? Somebody answer me that. Like, what does that have to do with George Floyd? Like, you got all this bread. You supposed to be in the communities every day, giving back. Yo, bro, what the fuck is this? This shit has bugged me out.
Another $200,000
this shit is crazy
went
to me.
To the transgendered law
like,
center.
this don't make any sense.
Another $200,000 went to Black transgendered media. Another $200,000 went to the Transgendered Variant and Intersex Justice Project. Another $200K went to the Transgendered District. By the way, if you're wondering what that is, it's purportedly going to be the all transgender district, and I guess that's really, really important for Black America advancement in society, I guess, or whatever. Another $200K went to the St. James Infirmary. That organization, by the way, is for, according to their website, workers, and is for them. Specifically, escorts, BDSM workers, strippers, peep show workers, phone sex operators, and webcam performers. It was actually the St. James Infirmary that created the transgendered district. So that's just an organization within another organization, which, by the way, you see a lot of when you go through these documents. So yeah, going to be apparently great big things involving sex workers in the future for Black America. In continuation, the Center for Halstead received $200,000 from Black Lives Matter. They are Chicago's community center dedicated to securing the health and well-being of Latinos.
So this wasn't even about the Black Lives Matter movement. This was just about the LGBTQ community, bro. Like, what?
Transgendered and queer people of Chicago. Similarly, we have the Audre Lorde Project, which received $200,000, and according to their website, they are a lesbian, gay, bisexual, two-spirit, trans, and gender non-conforming people of color community organizing center. Another $400,000 went to Transgender Advocates Knowledgeable Empowering, or TAKE, as it's known for short. The founder of that organization is a transgendered individual by the name of Daronicia Duncan Boyd. Daronicia is also the executive director of the Transgendered United Fund, which I mentioned earlier, which secured $200,000. So a total $600,000 of BLM money went to a transgendered woman named Daronicia Boyd, who is operating two charities. I found that piece to be very interesting. Here is Daronicia describing in a 2020 interview how they were able to use that money that was received to the organization to purchase more real estate.
We're opening up a new resource center here, and the resource center is almost 3 times as big as our last space that we was in. So we have lots of space and lots of rooms for our clients to come in and enjoy.
I noticed that real estate seems to be a common theme amongst these transgendered organizations. Remember, there's the first ever transgender district, and there are also a couple of houses that are named on their IRS documents. For example, an additional $200,000 was given to the House of Tulip. According to their website, the House of Tulip provides zero-barrier housing to trans and gender non-conforming people. But the one that really stood out as the most nonsensical is the $200,000 that went to the Griffin Gracie Retreat and Educational Center, known as House of Gigi for short. According to that website, they provide services and resources that positively impact the lives, history, and visibility of transgender, gender questioning, and gender non-conforming persons. They admit that they purchased a property in Little Rock, Arkansas back in 2019, and that property was supposed to serve as an oasis and a retreat for transgendered person, but they admit, also on the website, that they actually never held such a retreat. First, because their founder had a stroke and was recovering, and then it was COVID-19, so they still couldn't host a retreat. And despite having never hosted a retreat at this amazing oasis property that they purchased, in 2021, they announced that they purchased a second property next door to the first one. So, yeah. Now, all of the organizations that I just mentioned, none of them, not one, is up to date on filing a tax return with the IRS, which is required for charities. Because charities, remember, they don't pay taxes. In other words, I'm not able to tell you how any of these transgendered organizations spent the money that BLM poured into their organizations during the 2020 and 2021 tax year. If you continue to look through BLM IRS docs, you'll notice that they gave millions of dollars to various Black Lives Matter organizations throughout America, or at least at first glance, it appears that they did. A closer look, you'll see that they actually dispersed that funding to organizations that were in care of Black Lives Matter. This means that actually another organization is accepting the donation on behalf of BLM. So I decided to investigate that further, and I noticed a really bizarre pattern. A lot of those organizations train activists. They train the youth to become activists in their communities. One organization even goes as far as bragging on their website about their history of getting arrested, protesting, and they offer courses on various techniques like bird dogging. That's a technique that's used to confront politicians. I thought to myself, it's interesting because I kept hearing over and over again while filming this documentary that people felt as though the protesters that arrived throughout these cities weren't actually from the cities that they arrived in. They didn't know where they had come from. I remember buses. There was this idea that buses were showing up filled with protesters. It's a fair question then. Is it plausible that Patrice was giving money to groups that were creating protesters or training activists rather? I mean, why else would Patrice give millions of dollars to so many trained activists? I wanted to investigate that piece a little further, and so I made some phone calls.
All right. I don't know what to say. But one thing I will say is that Candace definitely exposed Black Lives Matter, the movement. Black lives do matter. They matter to me, of course. White lives as well. Whatever. People matter. Whatever. Right? Fuck that. What I'm saying to you is, notice how the media never talks about this. Notice how in your community, right? Nobody ever came and said, hey, we're going to put a new school here. We're going to teach African American history. We're going to teach African history. We're going to teach Caribbean African history. We're going to teach you guys how to be and understand your history more. We're going to teach you about the languages, about all the things that your ancestors learned before. We're going to teach you about self-defense. I don't know. Things that matter. It just makes me really mad that this is the case. I don't know what to say, man. The only thing I could say is that this is wild. This is crazy. And I was outside, man. I was protesting, man. Rest in peace, George Floyd. But what escalated after that, to me, was just a disgrace. I think it's crazy that none of the money went to things that really matter. Not saying that trans don't matter, but I just say, like, what that topic is, they ain't show up, they ain't do what they had to do. So my name is Lou Valentino, man. Thanks for watching. I think you guys should check it out, man. So check it out. It is The Greatest Lie Ever Sold by Candace Owens. And man, let me tell you, man, I give it a 5-star rating. I definitely think you guys should definitely watch it and do as much as you can, as much research as you can. You guys don't have to go with what I'm saying, but it's a great documentary. So go check it out. It's very informative. And my name is Lou Valentino. That was crazy.